Now, name-calling aside, President Trump may actually be having a major effect on North Korea. You see, it's been 2 months since the regime tested its last missile, and over the weekend, the U.S. put on a 3-carrier show of force. That's the first time in many decades right now near North Korea. Here to discuss, Captain Chuck Nash, retired U.S. Navy aviator and Fox News military analyst, along with Bruce Klingner, Heritage Foundation senior research fellow, also former CIA deputy division chief for Korea. Bruce, let me start with you. You've spent time in the region. You understand it pretty well. We've seen the escalation of testing by Kim Jong-un. And all of a sudden, it's about 60 days. Nothing has happened. He's been relatively quiet. Should we glean anything from that?
Well, North Korea typically launches fewer missiles in the fall. That we've seen that even under Kim Jong-un. And, you know, North Korea will go through spurts of testing and then a hiatus. Earlier this year, there was a few-week gap, and both Secretary of State Tillerson and President Trump thought that meant that they were backing off. The president even said, I respect that they're starting to respect us, and then shortly thereafter they launched. So, you know, I don't think we can count our chickens yet.
Yeah, and Captain Nash, we understand everyone's guardedly optimistic. In fact, General Mattis saying that the 3 carriers will, quote, no big message. But let's face it, the last time America had 3 U.S. Navy aircraft carriers in that region was in 1969 after North Korea shot down a spy plane. So this is a showing of muscle we haven't seen in quite a long time.
And it comes at a great expense, too, to the fleet for future readiness. When you put 3 aircraft carriers out there in sort of a semi-unscheduled mode, you have to strip aircraft from other places, you have to move people around, and then you're putting the real press on the most fragile element of this whole thing, which are the people and the parts supplies. So doing something like this is not done lightly. You have to take it with the amount of seriousness, because there is a very high price to pay for this. Speaking
of high price, Captain Nash, because President Trump has made it clear he wants a nuclear-free North Korea, this issue won't fade away. I mean, it's not just that North Korea has to stop testing missiles. I would assume that at some point we have to have conclusive evidence that they don't possess any nuclear missiles at all. So how precarious is that?
Denuclearization is the goal. That's the stated policy of the United States, denuclearize the peninsula. I think the president was very successful, from reports, on getting the Chinese to take a more active role in putting pressure on the North Koreans, and possibly Russian intervention coming into this as well, because they're starting to realize that this is, as the president has said, this is not a U.S.-Korean problem or a U.S.-Japan problem.
Right.
This is a world problem with the Koreans.
Bruce, help us with the timeline, because about a month or 2 months ago, it certainly felt like something was imminent. It felt like just, even if it was accidental, you know, missiles going over Japan, the threats about Guam. Where are we now, and how long will it take for this to play out, you think?
Well, certainly, as the captain pointed out, is complete, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement is not only the U.S. goal, it's in the UN resolutions. So a freeze for a freeze, as some people advocate, would, you know, really be unacceptable, but it would only be a way station along the way. You know, North Korea, we're waiting for an ICBM test. They've said they will do it. They usually complete what they have announced they will do technologically. They've said they would do a nuclear airburst over the Pacific, and North Korean officials said that should be taken literally. That would be hugely escalatory, and even an ICBM launch would have to go over Japan, and that would be very escalatory. So I think we'd be back to high level of tensions if either of those occurs.